Oh, another great high five. Hello, everybody. I hope you are doing fantastic. It is another great Wednesday night, and you are here, whether you like it or not. But I think by the end of the night, you will like that you are here. I have no way to guarantee this or make this happen unless you're in my group, in which we will be passing out cash. Just kidding, we aren't passing out any cash, but we are passing out friendship. Okay, enough of that. So, before we go any further, we have a couple of sponsors.
That's right.
Yep, for tonight's house party video. Would you want me to go first? You want to go first?
I actually have a legit sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Buc-ee's.
Oh.
They are building a Buc-ee's convenience store in Johnstown, Colorado.
That's right.
If you don't know what Buc-ee's is, here's a logo of Buc-ee's. Free advertisement. You can take it down so we don't get in trouble. But Buc-ee's sells really good food. It's a really fun environment. They have beavers everywhere if that's your thing. It's really cool. It's really big in Texas. It's actually a really cool place to visit. You should go once it's done.
There you go.
Yeah.
This video is also sponsored by Bigfoot, the mysterious hairy man in the woods. Are we stalking him or is he stalking you? Bigfoot. Brought to you by Bigfoot.
There you go.
Okay, we have some announcements, well really mainly one, and then an update on Master Oogway, aka Jessica. So, next week is student night. If you show up at your house party next week, it's going to be awkward. The family of that house is going to answer the door and be like, ooh, we're not having it tonight. And then you're going to be out in the cold trying to get a hold of your parents who are now out on a date because they thought that you were taken care of, and you're going to be sitting on the front step in the cold until 8:30 when they finally check their phone again and then pick you up late. And that's going to be your night next week if you don't come to student night. You're also going to miss out on everything good that happens at student night. So come to student night. It's going to be awesome. Like we always say, it's a great chance to invite your friends. It's really, really good.
Also, we said it last week, feel free to invite your friends to student night, sure, but house parties as well. Like, we push student night as the friend invite thing because it's big and it's fun, but that's not everybody's thing. Maybe they like quieter, more direct, and so, I don't know, house parties might be the thing for them. We'd love to see your friends either way. So, yeah.
Okay, on to maybe the most important thing we talk about tonight. We have an update on Master Oogway. Just kidding, that's not the most important thing. But it is very important. We have adopted a turtle, and somehow we have this link with this turtle where we can decide what the turtle does and does not do. And we have named this turtle Master Oogway, or as some of us refer to him, Jessica. So, where we left off, Master Oogway, he was plummeting through nothingness, and there was these two vortexes, these two dimensions that he could direct himself into, and last week you chose to direct Master Oogway into the spooky dimension that I thought was going to be Pueblo, but it's not. Here's what happens. Oogway embraces the swirling vortex of darkness. As he enters the spooky dimension, he's immediately greeted by a surreal landscape of twisted trees and eerie twilight. As he moves through the trees, he passes by two small ghosts, screaming in terror at each other, causing a never-ending cycle of screaming as each ghost scream frightens the other ghost back and forth. Suddenly, as Oogway goes on, he steps on a branch, causing a commotion. A voice screams out as Grizzle, a goblin with a bandana bearing a mysterious symbol, seemingly loses his hold from a branch up in a tree and falls. His foot gets stuck in a lower branch and is swinging upside down in front of the turtle. Grizzle calls out with a thick Russian accent, "Help, kind turtle, I'm stuck." Oogway now faces three choices. A. rush up the tree to help Grizzle escape. B. Deceive Grizzle by telling him that he'll help him down if he gives Oogway his bandana. But once he gives the bandana to Oogway, Oogway leaves. C. Run away to avoid attracting more attention. So, there you go. You got some choices to make. Maybe make them now, maybe make them later, but make those choices. The fate of this turtle rests in your hands. We have not ruled out that some of these decisions could lead to a life or death scenario.
Yeah. Who knows what will happen next. So if you want to talk about it with your group, take this moment to pause, maybe. That's what our group likes to do, and see what happens.
Yep. Okay. Time to move on to Mark. Okay. Let's keep going in Mark. So just to recap, we're looking at the book of Mark, which talks about the story of Jesus. And Jesus started his ministry. He's preaching about the kingdom of God and how it's come near. And he tells everyone to repent and believe the good news. And the good news is he's healing people. But he's healing not just these physical symptoms of things. He's healing the disease itself. He's curing the disease of sin instead of just healing the symptoms. And he's giving people a different perspective on God. A lot of people back then, they felt like they needed to be perfect and obey God in order for God to love them. But everything that Jesus is doing and saying shows them that God already loves them. Obeying God is not about getting God to love us. Obeying God is about realizing he already loves us, which means we can trust him. And so we're obeying God as almost like this lifelong experiment of like, okay, I'm going to try living my life the way that God teaches me to, because he says I will have a more full and vibrant life because of it. Last week, if you're part of the discussion, this is kind of the new wineskins that we were talking about. This is a whole different perspective that contains this new kingdom, this Jesus that we were talking about. So this was revolutionary, and it was bothering a lot of the religious leaders back then because they believed something different. What Jesus was teaching was different, and a lot of them felt like Jesus was misleading people into something that wasn't true, which is I can understand why they would feel that way. But some of them were so against what Jesus is teaching and doing that in the part of the story we're going to look at today, they're going to start beginning the planning process of how they could kill Jesus. So that's kind of a big deal. This is kind of the beginning of the assassination of Jesus, which is pretty nuts. So there's a few things in here we want to point out that might help you appreciate this part of the story a little bit better. We're going to be in chapter 3, verse 1 through 21. And yeah, so Landry, did you have any thoughts about this part? You want me to share some of mine?
Yeah, you go ahead and share some of yours first.
Okay.
And I'll chime in.
Okay, so some things that you will encounter in this. Jesus is going to get angry, which is really interesting. A lot of the people in my group, they've watched The Chosen. I've only watched a couple of episodes.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know if he ever gets angry in The Chosen, but at least in the first couple of episodes, they portray Jesus in this really beautiful way, where he's like loving and kind and gentle, but we don't often imagine Jesus getting angry, but he's going to get angry in this story. So you have that to look forward to. But he's not just angry, he's also distressed. It's kind of this sad angry, where he cares about the people that he's angry with. There's going to be this really big thing that's going to happen. There's a group of Pharisees that are going to meet with the Herodians. I don't know if you remember any mentions of Herod, but he's the dude that arrested John because John kind of called Herod out on something. Herod didn't like his wife anymore, so he divorced his wife, and then he took his brother's wife. That's bad. And John said, that's bad. And Herod didn't like that John was publicly humiliating him, so he's in charge. He's in charge of the whole area. He's kind of this rich, do whatever you want person. He is the polar opposite of the Pharisees. The Pharisees believe it's like we need to be obedient to God so that he'll rescue us. And they viewed the Herodians as like just the scum of the earth. So the fact that the Pharisees are going to talk to the Herodians is wild. Mm-hmm. It's like they dislike what Jesus is teaching so much that they are stooping so low as to conspire with the Herodians, which could be a couple things. One, they're compromising on this because they think it is so important to get rid of Jesus. Or two, these could be Pharisees that are kind of just putting on a show. Like they're not actually believing the things that they're teaching, and they're okay going to the Herodians because it's all kind of an act. This whole religious kind of spirituality thing, they're just doing it for popularity. It's a little bit hard to tell in this story. But
there might be a little bit of both, to be honest. And we don't know, we weren't there, and even if we were there, we wouldn't really know them. But it could be a bit of both, depending on the person. We see some Pharisees in the Bible are kind of chill people and willing to listen to Jesus, and some are not. So who knows how much of what they wanted was getting into the situation.
Yeah. But I can't point out enough how the Pharisees and the Herodians meeting together, this is the beginning of Jesus' murder. Mm-hmm. So don't miss that. That's a pretty big thing. Did you have any?
No, I just think bring up? That's just a really big deal that they would meet with their enemies because this new, even greater foe in their minds, Jesus, in their opinion, was even more important than their fighting with the Herodians, their disagreements with them. Yeah, it's a big deal.
You're going to read about Jesus calling the 12 disciples, which is also a really big deal. But I want to mention something about one of them. He's called Simon the Zealot. Zealots were very different from the Pharisees. So if you remember, Pharisees, they believed, okay, so Rome has conquered Israel. They're under the subjugation of this like terrible empire. And the Pharisees believed that if everyone would just start obeying God, God would rescue them from Rome. The Zealots believed that they don't need to wait around for God, but they need to overthrow Rome by force, by killing and destroying and burning. Like these are like, to Rome, the Zealots were terrorists. And to the Israelites, they were kind of like Batman, except they actually kill people. Like they were like the secret agency of assassins trying to overthrow the Roman Empire through force.
Right, and everyone's scared of them, but also they kind of like call on them in a deep time of need, and they don't really associate with them, but they're still there, and they know. It's like Batman is actually, I've never heard it described that way, but Batman that kills people.
Like a violent vigilante. Mm-hmm. But when people read about the disciples, they think, oh, just these nice guys. It's like, no, like Jesus invited an assassin terrorist to be one of his main followers. That's pretty cool.
Granted, this assassin terrorist was very open to what Jesus was teaching, but that didn't stop Jesus from going to them and saying, all right, do you want to learn more about God? And essentially.
Not to say Jesus is for assassinations and terrorism.
I know that's not what you meant. I just wanted to clarify.
But it's like this shows who Jesus is. Like he's not limiting anyone from being a follower to him and to learn from him and to have their mind changed and their perspective changed. Right. And so, all right. Those are all kind of the neat kind of Easter eggs of information I can think of. But you guys have a really good time reading this. I hope you get something out of it. I hope you have really a good time tonight. And it's good to see you.